Welcome back. There's the top of my head in case you were worried about it. Today we're going to read chapter 17, The First Cure. As you remember from the last video, it is time for Black Elk to start doing what he was put on earth to do, saving his people, because he had this wonderful dream. Several things have happened in the chapters that we're skipping, so I want to go and I think I'll just read the snippets that I've made in the study guide for you. Let me find those just a second. All right, in chapter 14, he performs the horse dance. Let me see what I wrote about this. For the horse dance, two men set up a teepee just like the one in Black Elk's dream. No rainbow door. Black Elk prepared to dance by fasting and painting his entire body. Men were painted like the horses in his dream, and there were painted horses too. Virgins were there, and Black Elk says that the 6 grandfathers were also there and that they talked to him throughout the whole dance. So he's probably hallucinating or dreaming again, like he's getting to that space spiritually and mentally where he was with his original dream. From that dance on, Black Elk's status as a medicine man grows and his reputation as a healer and a savior spreads. Many people think they're sick and that they're made better through the dance. Starting the next morning until forever, Black Elk rises to meet the daybreak star, the star of understanding, the star from his dream, and everyone knows he does this. Some people join him regularly. So even though we're not reading chapter 14, it comes right before this. And chapter 14, because of the horse dance ceremony that he does, this is where he goes from just him knowing about his dream of saving his people to like everyone knowing, and some people joining him. So he gets up really early and starts becoming who he knows he was meant to be. Okay, chapter 15, he had another vision. Let's see, it's called the dog vision. The soldiers told Black Elk and his people that they have to move because they sold their land. As you know, they didn't, but whatever. People with guns told them to skedaddle, so they did. Black Elk has a vision, but he doesn't want to talk about it. And in his vision, 2 guys from the sky, like in his chapter 3 dream, they came and they glared at him. They didn't speak, but it was understood that they wanted him to get started on helping his people. The time had come. So horse ceremony is over. Now he's having a vision. Let's get going. In the spring, he had another dream. It was bloody and dogs' heads were involved. The heads symbolized the Wasichus, and Black Elk told the old men in his camp about the dream, and they said it was time to do something indeed. But he had to wait 20 days. That is apparently the usual waiting period for dogs' head visions. I don't know, that's a bad joke. Also, to celebrate the beginning of his helping, they would perform a ceremony, a Heyoka ceremony, which are used to raise spirits of exceptionally depressed people, which everyone was very badly. So chapter 16 is that ceremony to get everyone's spirits up, to get ready for the payback that's coming, the leadership and the fighting that they now are coming on behalf of Black Elk and his new mission. During this ceremony, there's lots of jolly laughing and weeping. There was a dead dog in this one because of the dream. The ceremony worked and everyone was happier because that's what the grandfathers want most, for everyone to be happy with the green earth and each other. So that takes us right up to chapter 17, the first cure. Here we go. It's starting, finally. After the Heyoka ceremony, I came to live here where I am now, between Wounded Knee Creek and Grass Creek. Others came too, and we made little gray houses of logs that you see, and they're square. It's a bad way to live, for there can be no power in a square. And if you think about what circle, what shape does Black Elk value, he and his people? It's the circle, which I just said. And think about, like, is your life filled with circles or squares? Literally, figuratively, metaphorically. I think it's safe to argue that we live a life of squares. Linear, lots of ends, as opposed to a cyclical way of life, physically and spiritually. But that's just my opinion, I don't know. Okay, so no power in a square. You've noticed that everything an Indian does is in a circle, and that's because of the power of the world and how it always works in circles, and everything tries to be round. In the old days, when we were a strong and happy people, all our power came to us from the sacred hoop of the nation. And so, so long as the hoop was unbroken, the people flourished. So the hoop is we talked about it in chapter 3 with the dream, the stick, and then like the hoop was around it. So it's like literally the teepee's circles and the physical layout of how he's camped, but it's also the connectivity of how everyone, like the circle of life, the circle of social friendship, the circle of, oh, what's that movie? The Meet the Fockers, maybe? Like you're in the circle, out of the circle. I don't know. Okay, I'm sorry. The flowering tree was the living center of the hoop, and the circle of the 4 quarters nourished it. The east gave peace and light, the south gave warmth, the west gave rain, and the north with its cold and mighty wind gave strength and endurance. Makes me think a lot of Game of Thrones, actually. I'm rewatching that right now. This knowledge came to us from the outer world with our religion. Everything the power of the world does is done in a circle. The sky is round, and I have heard that the earth is round like a ball, and so are all the stars. The wind in its greatest power whirls, so that's like a circle. Birds make their nests in circles, for theirs is the same religion as ours. The sun comes forth and goes down again in a circle. The moon does the same, and both are round. Circle, circle, circle. Even the seasons form a great circle in their changing and always come back again to where they were. The life of a man is a circle from childhood to childhood. Like you're old and you need to wear like adult diapers. That's the circle of butts. And so it is in everything where power moves. Our teepees were round like the nests of birds, and these were always set in a circle, the nation's hoop, a nest of many nests. Where the Great Spirit meant for us to hatch our children. What a fun metaphor. So lots of circle-y things. I would assume that in your study guide you're going to be writing down some examples of those to remember and look back on, and I think they'll come up in your quizzes too. So if you want to take a pause, that would be smart. But the Wasichus have put us in these square boxes. Our power is gone and we are dying, for the power is not in us anymore. You can look at our boys and see how it is with us. When we were living by the power of the circle and the way we should, boys were men at 12 or 13 years of age, but now it takes them very much longer to mature. Well, it is as it is. We are prisoners of war while we are waiting here, but there is another world. Getting lots of emails right now, sorry. It was in the moon of shedding ponies, May. They're shedding their winter fur hair. When we had the Heyoka ceremony. One day in the moon of the fatness, June, when everything was blooming, I invited one side to come over and eat with me. I had been thinking about the 4-rayed herb that I had now seen twice, the first time in the great vision when I was 9, and the second time when I was lamenting on the hill. I knew that I must have this herb for curing, and I thought I could recognize the place where I had seen it growing that night when I lamented. Vocab word lament means to cry. It's a beautiful way to say cry. After one side and I had eaten, I told him there was an herb that I must find, and I wanted him to help me hunt for it. Of course, I didn't tell him that I had seen it in a vision. He was willing to help, so we got on our horses and we rode over to Grass Creek. Nobody was living over there. We came to the top of a high hill above the creek, and there we got off our horses and we sat down for, I felt that we were close to where I saw the herb growing in my vision of the dog. We sat there a while, singing together some songs, and I began to sing along a song that I had heard in my first great vision. In a sacred manner, they are sending voices. So that's what he was singing, and that's true from his vision. The grandfathers were sending him voices. So he's like praying for the power and the knowledge of those voices to help him find his herb right now. After I had sung this song, I looked down towards the west, and yonder at a certain spot beside the creek were crows and magpies, chicken hawks and spotted eagles circling around and around. Then I knew, and I said to one side, "Friend, right there is where the herb is growing." And he said, "We'll go forth and see." So we got on our horses and we rode down Grass Creek until we came to a dry gulch, and this we followed up. As we neared the spot, the birds all flew away, and it was a place where 4 or 5 dry gulches came together. There, right on the side of the bank, the herb was growing, and I knew it, although I had never seen one like it before, except in my vision. That's crazy. I had a root. It had a root about as long as to my elbow, and this was a little thicker than my thumb. That's a big root. It was flowering in 4 colors, blue, white, red, and yellow. And we got off of our horses, and after I had offered red willow bark to the 6 powers, I made a prayer to the herb, and I said to it, "Now we shall go forth to the 2-leggeds, but only to the weakest ones, and there shall be happy days among the weak." I don't know about you, but I have a lot of flowers in my garden that I'm tending to this summer, and I don't have any that are 4 colored, so that makes me want to get out my almanac and take a little gander through there, but those 4 colors in one flower seems really special and rare. It was easy to dig the herb because it was growing in the edge of the clay gulch. Then we started back with it. When we came to Grass Creek again, we wrapped it in some good sage that was growing there. Something must have told me to find the herb just then, for the next evening I needed it, and I could have done nothing without it. Yay, herb! I was eating supper when a man by the name of Cuts to Pieces came in, and he was saying, "Hey, hey, hey," for he was in trouble. I asked him what the matter was, and he said, "I have a boy of mine, and he's very sick, and I'm afraid he'll die soon. He's been sick a long time. They say that you have great power from the horse dance and the Heyoka ceremony, so maybe you can save him for me. I think so much of him." Oh, good. I told Cuts to Pieces that if he really wanted to help, he should go home and bring me back a pipe with an eagle feather on it. While he was gone, I thought about what I had to do, and I was afraid, because I had never cured anybody yet with my power, and I was very sorry for Cuts to Pieces. I prayed hard for help, and when Cuts to Pieces came back with the pipe, I told him to take it around to the left of me, and then to leave it there, and to pass out again to the right of me, so like to make a circle around him. When he had done this, I sent for one side to come and help me. Then I took the pipe and I went to where the sick little boy was. My father and my mother went with us, and my friend Standing Bear was already there. I first offered the pipe to the 6 powers, and then I passed it, and we all smoked. After that, I began making a rumbling thunder sound on the drum. You know, when the power of the West comes to the 2-leggeds, it comes with rumbling, and when it has passed, everything lifts up its head and is glad, and there is some greenness. Kind of like thunder or a storm, like it's all loud and bass-filled around. And when the rain is over, everything's like, even like me, when I step outside and I'm like, that's such a refreshing smell. So, yes, Black Elk, I agree with you. So I made this rumbling sound. Also, the voice of the drum is an offering to the spirit of the world. Its sound arouses the mind and makes men feel the mystery and power of things, which I would agree with. Loud, deep noises, drums, they're cool. The sick little boy was on the northeast side of the teepee, and when we entered at the south, we went around from left to right, stopping on the west side when we had made the circle. You want to know why we always go from left to right like that? Well, I can tell you something of the reason, but not all. Think of this. Is not the south the source of light? And does not the flowering stick truly come from there? And does not man advance from there toward the setting sun of his life? Then does not he approach the colder north when the white hairs, where the white hairs are? And does he not then arrive, if he lives, at the source of light and understanding, which is east? Then does he not return to where he began, to his second childhood, there to give back his life to all life, and his flesh to the earth whence it came? The more you think about this, the more meaning you will see in it. I don't know if that's a question or not. I haven't previewed your study guide questions before I started reading this, so apologies. But he's explaining like why you enter, start at the south, and then you go around. So it would be south, west, north, east, south. And he's explaining why he would go in that direction. And it's beautiful. You start in the south, then you go, you go north. You get all your white stuff, like winter is coming, blah, blah, blah. And then if you're lucky, you make it to the east where the daybreak star is, and you get that knowledge of being old and all those experiences, and then you go back down south to like get old and die and wear those adult diapers. Just kidding. But yeah, that's a really cool way to think about the circle of life and how it relates to and matches up with the 4 cardinal directions and what they represent in this story. As I said, we went into the teepee from the left to the right, and we sat ourselves down on the west side. The sick little boy was on the northeast side, and he looked as though he were only skin and bones. I had the pipe, the drum, and the 4 rayed herb already, so I asked for a wooden cup full of water and an eagle bone whistle, which was for the spotted eagle of my great vision. They placed the cup of water in front of me, and then I had to think a while because I had never done this before, and I was in doubt. So it's cool that the objects from his vision are coming back. Eagle wing stretches, the spotted eagle, the cup of water, the pipe, 4 directions, the colors, the things that they represent. I understood a little more now, so I gave the eagle bone whistle to one side, and I told him now to use it in helping me. Then I filled the pipe with red willow bark, and I gave it to the pretty young daughter of Cuts to Pieces, telling her to hold it, just as I had seen the Virgin of the East holding it in my great vision. Everything was ready now, so I made low thunder on the drum, keeping time as I sent forth a voice. 4 times I cried, hey, hey, drumming as I cried to the spirit of the world. And while I was doing this, I could feel the power coming through me, up from my feet, and I knew that I could help the sick little boy. That's crazy. What does that feel like? I kept on sending a voice, so like crying out, singing out, praying to the grandfathers. I kept on sending a voice while I made low thunder on the drum, saying, my grandfather, Great Spirit, you are the only one, and to no other can anyone send voices. You've made everything they say, and you've made it good and beautiful. The 4 quarters and the 2 roads crossing each other you have made, and also you have set a power where the sun goes down. The 2 legs on earth are in despair. For them, my grandfather, I send a voice to you. It's really similar to prayers that I've heard in my lifetime, prayers to God instead of grandfather. Arguably the same, perhaps. You've said this to me, the weak shall walk. In vision you have taken me to the center of the world, and there you've shown me the power to make over. The water in the cup that you have given me, by its power shall the dying live. The herb that you have shown me, through its power shall the feeble walk upright. From where we're always facing the south, behold, a virgin shall appear, walking the good red road, offering the pipe as she walks. And hers is also the power of the flowering tree. And from where the giant lives, the north, you have given me a sacred cleansing wind. To where this wind passes, the weak shall have strength. You've said this to me. To you and to all your powers and to Mother Earth, I send a voice for help. You see, I'd never done this before, and I know that only one power would have been, and I know now that only one power would have been enough, but I was so eager to help the sick little boy that I called on every power that there is. I'd been facing the west, of course, while sending a voice. Now I walked to the north, and to the east, and to the south, stepping there where the source of life is, and where the good red road begins. Standing there, I sang thus, in a sacred manner I have made them walk. A nation lies low. A sacred 2-legged, he lies low, like he's sick. In a sacred manner he shall walk. While I was seeing this, I could feel something queer all through my body, something that made me want to cry for all unhappy things, and there were tears on my face. Now as I walked to the quarter of the west, where I lit the pipe and I offered it to the powers, and after I had taken a whiff of smoke, I passed it around. When I looked at the sick little boy again, he smiled at me, and I could feel that the power was getting stronger. I next took the cup of water, I drank a little bit of it, and I went around to where the sick boy was. Standing before him, I stamped the earth 4 times, like to stomp it. Then, putting my mouth to the pit of his stomach, I drew through him the cleansing wind of the north. I next chewed some of the herb and I put it in the water, and afterward blowing some of it on the boy and to the 4 quarters. The cup with the rest of the water I gave to the Virgin, who gave it to the sick little boy to drink. So the chewing and the blowing and putting it like his onto the boy's stomach, that's weird to me, but okay, cool. Then I told the Virgin to help the boy stand up and to walk around the circle with him, beginning at the south, the source of life. He was very poor and weak, but with the Virgin's help he did it. And then I went away. The next day, Cuts to Pieces came to me and told me that his little boy was feeling better and was sitting up and could eat something again. And in 4 days he could walk around. He got well and he lived to be 30 years old, which to us is probably not very impressive, but the farther back in history you go, you know that life is not as filled with longevity as it is now. So yay, great job. Cuts to Pieces gave me a good horse for doing this, but of course I would have done it for nothing. When the people heard about how the little boy was cured, Meany came to me for help, and I was busy most of the time. This was in the summer of my 19th year. 1882, in the in the moon of making fat, which is June, I believe. So he did it. He had his first cure. I mean, when you have a goal, it's always good you feel accomplished when you do a task. So wow, what a task, what a goal for him, what a helping, wonderful way, stepping stone onto his path of helping his people. He helped his first person, and everyone knows about it. So his reputation is growing, his confidence in himself, his power. Great job, Black Elk. So good job, you. Chapter 17, the first cure.